someone could bring some extra chairs. Gordon doesn't have rabies either, so he's nice to him. And Bob Myers. Thank you, James. Do you want to have a seat? Not on the table? Oh, am I okay? You're okay? Oh.
You won't be on camera there, so you see.
Mike, it just keeps revolving out, so what is on? All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Anna Tamel, Chair of Planning and Zoning. It is 7:06 p.m. on June 11, 2024, and I'm calling this public hearing to order. With me tonight are Vice Chair James Laporta, Secretary Phil West, regular commission member Christine Gray, and Stephen Sicardi, who's hiding in the gray seat. We also have three alternates, Bruce Bennett over there, Michelle Shipp, and Will Evans. In the absence of regular member Keith Bodwell, I'm going to seat Will Evans in his place. The table also includes, in that corner, Kara Nelson, Zoning Enforcement Officer, and coming towards me, Janelle Mullen, our land use consultant. So the purpose of this hearing is to obtain testimony from Cornwall citizens concerning a commission proposed amendment to the zoning regulations. I'm just going to ask Karen, could you read the legal notice? Which is part of what is required for a public hearing.
The legal notice was published in the Republican American on May 30th and June 6th. It reads, the Town of Cornwall Planning and Zoning Commission legal notice and notice of public hearing. The Cornwall Planning and Zoning Commission will hold an in-person hybrid Zoom public hearing on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, commencing at 7 p.m. in the Cornwall Library, 30 Pine Street, to hear the following. Text amendments to the Town of Cornwall zoning regulations. Article 3, definitions, addition of definitions duplex and triplex, and change to definition of multifamily housing. Article 4, permitted uses to add duplexes and triplexes. Article 4.7, GB zone, change restaurants to permitted uses. Changes to the permitted use table to add duplexes and triplexes to special permit in R1, R3, R5, and GB zones. Remove 10.1G conversion of an existing single-family dwelling. Edit Article 10.3 special use provisions, intent and purposes, and special use standards. Renumber all sections of Article 10 and change 10.13 to 10.12 multifamily housing. A copy of the regulatory changes are in file in the office of the town clerk. At these public hearings, interested persons may appear and be heard, and written communications received. Email communications to be made part of the record are to be sent to landuse@cornwallct.gov before 12 noon, June 6th. Dated this 28th day of May 2024. And also for the record, communications to the Community and Economic Development Director, Rista Malenka, Northwest Hills Council of Governments, 355 Goshen Road, and it contained a copy of the amendments to the zoning regulations being proposed, and the information regarding the public hearing date, and we received comment from her that she received and reviewed them and had no comments. So that's statutory requirement, and all of that was the referral, I will say, dated May 28th. Referral comment by Arista, description of proposals, Planning and Zoning Commission proposing to amend various sections of the zoning regulations addressing multifamily housing. Staff comments, Northwest NHCOG staff finds the proposed amendment or amendments does not have any apparent conflicts with the Northwest Hills Plan of Conservation and Development or any intermunicipal impacts. and that is required by statute that we send the regulations, proposed regulations, to the municipal planning agency. They are on file in the town clerk's office, and that is response, which is also on file in the town clerk's office. That's all I have.
Thank you. The, for everyone's enjoyment, the state has requirements that every public hearing be noticed twice in the newspaper that has the largest general circulation in town. And there have been efforts to amend the law to allow web communication of these things, but we're still a little behind the times. Each time that we have to put in 2 notices, it costs the town $500. So if you want to write to your legislators, oops, no, I better stop saying this.
More like
It's $180.
$180.
Okay, well, anyway, it's money, okay.
But I do want to add to this legal notice, the minutes of when it was put in the newspaper was also posted on the town website, thanks to Rocco, who puts it up, and the legal notice was put up with the attached regulations and the letter from the municipal planning agency.
So we as a commission post all notices and supporting materials on our ConnecticutCT.org website to allow people to be better informed.
And that legal notice contained the Zoom link as well. So, and that was up, I think at the end of May.
So Karen, I'm just going to ask you to speak a lot more loudly next time you speak, because I can barely hear you at my end of the table. No, it's not like and the other thing I want to explain, because I would like to reiterate what Karen said. There is an entity called the Northwest Hills Council of Government. In this state, they represent the regional planning authority, which would otherwise have been belong to a county legislature, which Connecticut does not have any of. And they review all our regulation amendments, and they review any requests that we might put through to the state for extra funding for any project. So that explains that. And there's a statute that requires us to give them 35 days to comment on any amendment. I just believe citizens should know how their government works. So the purpose of this hearing is to obtain testimony from Cornwall residents concerning a commission-proposed amendment to our zoning regulations. I've said that already. I want to summarize the amendment again a little more clearly. The main changes we're looking for have the purpose of expanding the diversity of housing opportunities in Cornwall. Currently, we exclusively allow single-family homes and accessory dwelling units. We would like to add duplexes and triplexes to that list because it may allow people with more modest incomes to live in Cornwall. I would also note that triplexes qualify by definition as multi-state housing, and a state an amendment to the Zoning Enabling Act in 2022 required every municipality to make provisions for multifamily housing in their zoning regulations. We had such a provision in place already. It was limited to allowing affordable multi-family housing if built by a not-for-profit or the town itself. We are suggesting that multifamily housing could be built by any developer. They would not have to be not-for-profit or the town. We are also wanting to make it easier to open a restaurant in town by getting rid of the special permit requirement, which would require a public hearing, and restaurants will be able to open in commercial general business zones through a process called a site plan review by the commission. Is there anything else? Okay. I want to make a comment that those of us on the commission are very well aware of the fact that in Cornwall, our geography with slopes, extensive wetlands, many water courses, and several rivers, as well as the lack of a centralized water supply system and sewage system, means that in fact, very little big-scale development is possible here or likely to ever happen. For people who are new to Cornwall, I think that's an important thing for them to understand. A public hearing is not a time for us to answer your questions. We make it known that questions should be addressed to us in writing so that people can get a well thought out answer, not a spur of the moment reply. We have a time limit on when questions about proposed legislation or even a special permit can arrive in our office. And the reason for that is that our zoning enforcement officer works part-time and has office hours Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 12. And the commission is made up of volunteers who have full-time jobs. So we ask, most of us, I hope, we ask letters and comments to be to us by the Thursday before our usual Tuesday meetings. So that means that if people get around to writing to us on a weekend about an upcoming public hearing, it's too late. There was one letter that came to us too late, and it will therefore not be on the record of this public hearing, and it was not forwarded to the commissioners to read. Okay. We're recording this meeting as required by state law. We will ask people to make comments, and you are required by state law to state your name and your address. If you consider yourself an expert witness, you're expected to state what your qualifications are. I'm going to give people, I think, 5 minutes to speak since there are so few of us. Our timekeeper will be Christine Gray, who is hard as a rock. And when we're all done, if we have time, then you can have a second chance to speak again. But everybody who wants to speak will have a chance to speak. It's our job to listen this evening. So I'm going to ask the people in the room if anybody has anything to say, and then we will look to hands up from the people participating by Zoom. You can put your hands up now and Michelle will make a list. Okay. So Joel Cutler is going to speak. I don't know all the names in the room, so she's one of the ones I do know. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I think you should stand.
Yes, I will stand. My name is Jill Cutler. I live at 36 Yelkin Hill Road in West Cornwall. And I am the chair of the new Affordable Housing Commission. And I'm speaking in favor of this regulatory change. I'm not speaking for the commission. I'm speaking for myself. But I think that the commission, many of whose members are here, would say pretty much the same kind of thing that I'm going to say. When I first came to Cornwall in 1973, it was already clear that the children of people who lived here, who were not summer residents, were not going to be able to live here. And that was 50 years ago. Not a whole lot has changed in the sense that there's a little affordable housing, but there really isn't enough. There's an organization called Consumer Affairs. I'm not quite sure what they are, but they put together an analysis by looking at the census, the Bureau of Economic Affairs, and the Department of Labor, which indicates that Connecticut in general has the worst situation for renters of any state. 55% of renters in Connecticut are paying 35% of their wages for rent. This is kind of terrible because these are people with no money, and so if they're paying more than they should be paying for rent, there are a lot of other things which they are not able to be paying for. In Cornwall, 251 families make less than 80% of the Litchfield County median income. 251 families, that's a lot of families. Now, not all those families are renting. Many of them are families with houses that they can't afford to live in, basically. And that's a statistic that Anna collected. These are our neighbors, and as many of us know, there are people in Cornwall who are worse than badly housed. They're unhoused. This, I think, might be a first. In any case, the situation is dire. And I regard this set of regulations as a good way to attack the problem to the extent that the Planning and Zoning Board can do that. And I want to thank all of you for working on this. I know it wasn't easy to get to this point. If you build a house that has 2 residential units in it, you are automatically saving money. There's an economy of scale. And maybe you live in one unit and you rent the other unit, or you rent the 2 units. There's a way in which triplex housing and duplex housing, those are not so grand. They're not so sacred here in Cornwall. And so they could be cheaper. And this is what I, of course, am hoping, that they will be cheaper. And I'm also hoping that in a way it will solve the problem that we have, which is that we can't have smaller lots. This is a very unpopular idea in Cornwall. But if you're essentially building 2 or 3 residential units on one lot, you sort of sidestepped that problem. So, you know, I'm also aware that affordable housing is a technical definition, and this type of housing is not affordable in the technical sense, but it might be affordable in the real sense. I could go on, but I'm not going to go on. I'm just going to say I feel very strongly about it, and I urge you to pass this, and I'll support you, and I'll fight for you in any bar room.
Thank you for your testimony.
Rocco Botto, 20 Bunker Hill Road, Cornwall. Having closely followed the progress on this and other updates to the regs over the past couple of years, I'm here tonight to support, to voice my support for the proposed amendment changes. I feel it would make it a little bit easier for more diverse types of housing in town, which would better address some of our current issues, also looking into the future as well. The pandemic has really showed us the critical role that housing plays in shaping people's lives and creating that strong foundation. And the current housing crisis, as we know, has hit Connecticut very hard, and it's led to situations where kids can't afford to, live in the town they grew up in. Seniors have had trouble downsizing, and people that work in our town can't live in the same town that they work in. And, you hear these stories, and, I've served on the Cornwall Housing Corporation for the past couple of years, and, stories about how Coeven Village has became a lifeline for a local family to be able to stay in Cornwall, or how Bonnybrook has served as a great a comfortable and safe place for seniors in our community, and how things like our parcel program has brought families of modest means, the real opportunity to come here to Cornwall, to thrive. And a lot of these same people have volunteered on our fire department, have gone on to serve the town, and to really make Cornwall a better place. In conclusion, I feel the proposed changes are in alignment with our POCD and in harmony with state statutes, including the recent Zoning Enabling Act, which addresses the fact that historically discrimination lies behind some of these zoning regulations that we've seen in the past. So I'd like to see us as a town create a more equitable future where there's opportunity for everyone in our town. And knowing the landscape, the dynamics, and the economics of Cornwall well, I don't feel these changes are going to make a drastic change in Cornwall. And anyway, and with some luck, I think this will help us just shape a brighter future for the town we call home. So thank you.
Thank you.
Robin, would you like to submit your comments?
Sure.
I'm going to call on two people who've had their hands up on the Zoom. I'm going to start with Pam. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Pam. Weltsian. And you have to unmute yourself, please. There you go.
That was very close. You did well. I am also a member of the Affordable Housing Commission, and I'm speaking for myself and my own personal experience. I currently live in Coogman Village, and if Coogman Village did not exist, I would not be able to live in Cornwall. And this is where I want to be. My son is nearby, and I can age in place here. And it breaks my heart to see how many people in Cornwall with jobs can't afford to live here. So I am very much in support of the regulation of having duplexes and triplexes allowed. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Pam. I'll call on Margaret Cooley next. Maggie, did you go away?
No, I'm here. I'm just letting you see my face as well if you want. No, I can't. My face, I'm sorry. So I'm not.
Please state your name. I've been forgetting to make people state their name and address, Maggie. Sorry.
Cherry Hill Road.
Thank you.
And I'm not speaking for the Housing Commission, but Ginny is sick today and can't speak. So I'm a member of the Housing Corporation, and I'm just speaking as a person. But I wanted to begin by thanking you for that background document up on the site, which provided historical context for housing and zoning changes. And it also reminded people that there's a lot of information available on the town website, and that every step taken by any municipal entity, such as P&Z, or the group that worked, which included Pam and Jill, on the Affordable Housing Town Plan for a year, and the new Housing Commission is done in meetings and public hearings that are open to everybody. That's required by state statute. But in Cornwall, I think it's fair to say that there's usually an extra effort to be sure that people have a chance to stay informed, like additional public hearings more than are required, or housing forums that we've had over the years to air current issues and to seek input from people beyond those boards and commissions concerned. And whether or not people choose to go to those meetings or access them afterward or read minutes and supporting documentation is a personal decision, but failure to do so does not indicate conspiracy on the part of any town agency. And speaking of conspiracy, please give the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Housing Commission, the Cornwall Housing Corp credit of being capable of working to figure out what might fit our town. I think we're extremely lucky to have more professional, full-time organizations like the Northwest Connecticut Council of Governments or the relatively new Litchfield County Center for Housing Opportunities, the Partnership for Strong Communities, that all provided, they're full-time and they can provide the kind of data and present it. And then native inhabitants like ourselves can use it to fashion local solutions for local conditions. Now I'm getting off the hobby horse, but there was so much horse puppy written earlier. So about the regulation, I'm definitely in favor of the duplex and triplex addition. We've had that, in fact, for quite a while, because we were allowed to convert existing larger buildings into up to 3 apartments. So this is nothing new. It will be under the special permit process, so subject to public hearing and scrutiny by you guys. It has the possibility of providing housing which may be capital A affordable or small a affordable, but in any case, it's more housing, which we need in any form. Am I getting close, Christine?
30 seconds.
What?
30.
I'm done?
No, you have 30 seconds left, Maggie.
Okay, I'll come back later if there's room.
Okay, that's fine, and thank you for your testimony. Around this room, I see a hand up. Go ahead.
So I'm Ingrid Ellen, and I live at 92 Town Street, and I'm also on the Affordable Housing Commission with Jill and Caitlin, and who else is there? We've got a group here. But again, I'm speaking for myself and not for the commission. My parents bought a house in Cornwall when I was 4 years old. I've been here a long time. I have, fell in love with the community and the diversity of the community, the inclusivity of the community, and I think key to maintaining the wonderful sense of community that we have in Cornwall is allowing for a variety of different housing types. So I'm very much in support of this proposal. And I think that I think all of us know that nationally, housing affordability, rental housing affordability in particular, or actually both on both sides, is sadly sort of less affordable than it's ever been as measured now around the country. Rent burdens have been climbing up the economic ladder, and they've been spreading. Several decades ago, really the concern was kind of in large coastal cities, and really over time, and since COVID in particular, we've seen rent burdens really rise in smaller communities, and certainly we've seen that in Litchfield County, and certainly we've seen that in Cornwall, and I think that the duplex and triplex approach is sort of a natural way to build in more kind of naturally occurring affordable housing. It allows for more modest homes. It allows for different price points. It allows people. I think that also another element of it is just that it is it's sort of a form of kind of gentle density increases, and so as Anna said, that it's very difficult to build large multifamily housing developments in Cornwall. That's probably not the way that we're going to solve our housing crisis, but I think the kind of gentle density increases that are sort of imperceptible in a sense, right? That it's sort of like, you know, the built environment is not going to look very different, but it really can have a profound impact on the number of homes and the number of people who can live affordably and sustainably in Cornwall. And I will say also another piece that people have not brought up yet is that it makes it more affordable both for renters. It allows for sort of smaller, more modest rental homes, but it also makes actually home ownership more affordable. I mean, sort of the double deckers, the triple deckers are a really important form of naturally occurring affordable housing in many cities, many New England cities and towns, where you have people who own the building, live on the ground floor, rent a couple units, and that allows them to pay off their mortgage. It's also a wonderful way for people to age in place, if that's what they choose to do, or to downsize and to remain in Cornwall. So it seems to me that it's a wonderful solution. You're seeing communities around the country that are now eliminating, in many cases, single-family zoning and allowing for duplexes and triplexes. And so far, the sky has not fallen, but you are getting more housing and more affordability as a result. So thank you.
Thank you for that testimony. I know there was another hand up here. Go right ahead.
Hi, my name's Stacy Marson. My address is 270 Kent Road.
Would you mind spelling your last name for Karen?
Sure, Marcin. And I applaud the commission, the town, the Affordable Housing Commission as well for identifying the need for a variety of housing and certainly more affordable housing. When we moved here 20 years ago, our kids were young and they were in school, and several of their classmates were in houses that they were renting and were part of the community, and it was just great. I think it's a little naive for us if we don't talk about part of the reason for the lack of affordable housing is because so many of the homes that were rented to full-time residents are now only available for short-term rentals. So I guess my statement is if we're allowing developers or homeowners to build duplexes or triplexes, I hope that there's something, and if there is already something that's happened the past several years and I'm unaware of it, I apologize, but to make sure that we're accomplishing the goal here, which is to allow people to live and stay and age in this community, and not necessarily having people just who have money building duplexes and triplexes and just renting them out for short-term rentals, which is much more lucrative than renting it out. I mean, there are several dozens of short-term rentals just in Cornwall, and when you add the surrounding areas, you get up into hundreds. And studies are showing now that a big part of the crisis is of the price of housing is due to the influx of short-term rentals. And New York City's taken a major stand. Several towns in Connecticut are taking major stances about truly enforcing the regulations, either putting the regulations on the books or enforcing them to make sure that housing intended for long-term use is indeed used for long-term rentals and not turned into money machines for people of means. So I hope that's been discussed and will continue to be discussed and part of the regulations. Thank you.
Thank you for that testimony. I'm going to finally call on Janet Carlson, whose hand has been up for a while, on the screen. Who left? No. Sorry.
I'm here.
Okay.
Hi. I'm just biding my time. I can be patient sometimes, and it just happens. Good evening. I'm Janet Carlson. I live at 6 Railroad Street in West Cornwall. I'm a former selectman, and I chaired the EDC for more years than I care to count. So I have been very in touch with our plan of development and in touch with these things as they've been coming along. Clearly, housing has been something that's been very important in our town. We've talked about it a lot, we've made some moves forward, but clearly there need to be some other developments made. My brother is a chef and makes a decent salary. He can't afford to buy a house in Cornwall. He has lived with us twice, but he would like to have a home of his own, and he'd like to have it in Cornwall. My parents also looked at moving over to Cornwall also to live near us so they could age in place, and that has not been possible yet either. So personally, I've experienced my family wanting to move closer and live nearby. I've heard many, many stories of families that would like to do the same and other people who'd like to live here. I have had employees who are paid well have to live in other towns because they couldn't afford to buy a house. They were renting here but could not afford to buy here. So, this is stuff that has happened around me, so I've heard it firsthand. As far as the duplexes and triplexes, I understand that does allow more people to have more spaces and to live more economically. I would hope that we would choose a developer that has a conscience, that has the heart of the town in mind also. So I would certainly encourage carefully choosing who we partner with, but I think that certainly, as we have seen in other towns, allowed to have more affordable housing available. Not sure that I would consider making my house a triplex to let the rest of my family move in, but hey, I am in full support of this, as is my family, and I would encourage the commission to consider moving forward on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Any other hands? Gordon.
Yes.
Our first
selectman, I live at 142 Town Street, and I'd like to thank the commission for crafting this ordinance. And I think
it's not an ordinance, Gordon.
It's a
regulation.
I think the regulation will be consistent with the town plan of 2020, which is written by and for the people of the town of Cornwall, acknowledging the challenges at that time that were facing the town, including housing, youth, economy, and natural resources. This proposal could help in all those categories. Obviously with the housing and with the youth. And I'd just like to focus in on the impact of housing on our school system. I talked to a member of the Board of Ed recently, and they said the enrollment of the at CCS may decline by 10 students next year due to lack of housing. The superintendent of Region 1 is concerned that the lack of access to housing is suppressing enrollment in our schools. Last time I was at the school, I was asked, did I know any place to rent by a parent with 2 kids. The recent CCS graduates in the last 10 years are here in town, but almost all of them are living with their parents. And there's a substantial number of them that would like to have a rental in town, but is out of reach. And as with all those issues that are listed in the town plan, things have gotten worse as far as housing since 2020. The rental market collapsed during the pandemic and is still non-existent for working people. Also, my office acts as a pretty much a public hearing every day when people from Cornwall can come and express their concerns, their problems to me, and certainly it is very tough to hear repeatedly of important and valued longtime members of this community finding no place to downsize and have to move out of town. I think it's a failure of this town to not have options for its residents in a variety of housing things and to try to do its best to increase the rental market. The average price of housing in Cornwall was, median price was $350,000 before the pandemic. Now it's over $800,000, heading towards $1 million. That's the median sales price, if you can find a house for sale. I think it's farsighted of this commission to look at putting some new regulations in place, some new tools in the toolbox to help us meet the challenge of housing access in town. And I think the special permit process is a rigorous one that will ensure that some people's concerns about this idea are heard. And I think there are places in town and in surrounding towns where there are duplexes. They may not be called that, but they actually are multifamily housing that have successfully for years provided that housing options for a variety of Cornwall residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I see a hand on the screen. The name is Ellen.
David Goldberg.
Hello, I'm not Ellen, but my name is David Colbert. I live at 76 Warren Hill Road. And I want to also speak in favor of this proposed regulation. I applaud the commission for taking this step. I can't think of I'm sure it wasn't easy, but I can't think of an easier step to take that might be significant, that might have the significance that this might have in Cornwall. So I'm just echoing everyone else's applause. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David. There's a hand up in the back.
Jane Prentice, 67 Todd Hill Road. We've certainly touched on younger people being able to stay in the community, and also a little bit in seniors. Originally, when my husband built the house on 67 Todd Hill Road, with the help of our parents on both sides, we planned on having when the addition went in, we planned on having elderly parents there. They never moved in with us. But now we are at the point that we are reaching those times.
Golden years.
The golden years, yes. I'm reaching a milestone birthday this year, and my husband is older than me. And with Lyme disease and other things, we realize how really tenuous our ability to stay in this community that we so love is. So in that respect, we had originally put on the addition with the idea of elderly parents, but now with this opportunity, we may be allowed to have somebody else move in younger and help us stay and age in place. And it is very exciting, and we strongly, my husband and I strongly recommend that the commission continue on this path. Because not only will it help young people stay in town, but the elderly people, or the slightly older people, stay in this community, which we so love and have been a part of. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. I don't see any other hands up on the screen. Any hands?
Maggie wanted a second turn if possible.
Okay. Yes. Hi, Liz. Whoops, I'm sorry. We let Maggie in, you'll be next. I apologize.
If somebody hasn't spoken, they get to go before me, but
You're absolutely right. Maggie Cooley ran this operation for a long time. She knows the rules better than I do. Please go ahead.
Sure. I won't stand for the camera, but my name's Nathan Mastrocola, 89 Mohawk Mountain Road. Carrie knows me very well. I'm new to town. I guess I'd be a part of the new demographic that moved in here. And a part of that process in the special permitting, I went through and got the accessory apartment provision, which I guess is part of some of the things you guys did in the past. I guess I'm not speaking against or for the duplex. My only concern is with the profiting, and I think you mentioned it too. I think owner occupied is very important. That's where I really agree with a lot of these things. We're splitting the house and your owner on one side. It keeps corporations from coming in and buying up or making as big as we possibly can support here in town, and essentially just making the problem worse. Also keeping these units affordable. So through deed, or I haven't read the I just found out this yesterday, so I haven't had a lot of time to research, so excuse that. But I think that's very important that we look at that. Someone had spoke to school burden. I don't know if we fully understand the amount of COVID kids that are in town now because of all the people that did move in, but of course that's always a concern too, making sure our schools can keep up with any sort of growth that we have here. And that's it.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you. All right, Maggie, back to you.
Hey, thank you. I think owner occupied is not legal anymore, isn't that so?
Do you have a comment about that, Janelle?
There's nothing in statute that would state that explicitly.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the other a part of the regulation change, the opening multifamily development up to the private side as well as town-sponsored or nonprofit. Because I agree with Ingrid that duplexes and triplexes are a wonderful way to augment housing possibilities in town by making the least possible impact on what's already there. But the reality is that to make a difference, it's got to be multifamily housing. And the town and the Cornwall Housing Corporation have limited resources, so we're never going to be able to keep up with the goals set by either the town plan or the affordable housing town plan without the help of slightly more ambitious projects. Giant projects are never going to work in Cornwall because there isn't the infrastructure. But opening it to private developers is not such a stretch because for the past couple of decades, private developers have been able to move in and put whatever they like in front of you and only have to conform to those regulations which are based on health and safety under state statute 830G. That hasn't happened in Cornwall. I mean, so long as they have 20% of the units affordable. That hasn't happened in Cornwall, but it might. And to have it go through you as a permitted use under the special permit process is terrific, I think. That's all.
Appreciate your comments, Maggie. Are we nearing an end to the commentary? David, your hand is still up. Did you want to speak again? Well, yeah, it's still up, David.
Oh, oops.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I didn't, I only just 5 minutes ago learned how to put up the hand, but.
Well, that's fine, Dave. You're in good company.
There it is. Okay. Sorry.
Since there's nobody here who is speaking against, I have a comment about why the commission decided to allow a private developer to do multifamily housing. housing in Cornwall. And it stems back to a letter that our first selectman received from Ira Barkov. Do you remember that letter, Gordon?
I can't quote it, but
Ira,
you tell me.
Ira and his wife had lived here for a very long time. They were contributors to the town. They had a nice big house. When they found that they could no longer maintain that house or occupy it safely, they looked around for senior condos. They could not find any. They were heartbroken and expressed that heartbreak to have to move to Kent. Just explaining where some of these ideas come from, because the general public doesn't always understand the forces at work when Planning and Zoning Commission are planning for regulatory change. Gordon.
Just one other thing on that topic. My mother-in-law used to live in town, half a mile from here, and she wanted to downsize, and as with many people in her age demographic, she wanted a place that was easier to take care of. There was no place that met her needs, so she still is living in Region 1, and I think most other towns have some sort of multifamily housing. Where she lives in North Canyon is great, and it's multifamily housing. It is privately owned, and that's the reality of a good fit. Not everybody needs to be in a nursing home, but there is certainly a need for more options for people. And I did have a conversation with a local builder who said he would like to build someday a place with 3 apartments in it, because he knows there's a need for it and he has the skills to do it. So I think somehow the word private developer can be like a new scary word to scare people from doing what we really should be thinking about as necessary options for the betterment of the town.
Thanks. I will accept a motion to close this public hearing at 7:53 p.m.
I'll make a motion.
Any seconds? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. No opposed? I should have asked for discussion first. I always forget that part. I'll back up. I'm allowed. Do the commissioners have anything else to say? If not, the meeting is adjourned. And the public hearing is adjourned, and we're going to move on to the rest of our agenda. Anyone who wants to stay for that is certainly welcome.
You still want this recorded?
Yeah, you always record our whole meeting.
Okay.
Thank you,
Just wanted to
Richard.
make sure.
Thanks to everyone who came.
I take it you're not voting on this tonight?
That's not necessarily the case.
Oh, she is? Where's she working?
Thank you very much. Thank you for taking your time to come. And thank you to everybody on the Zoom part for coming. If you'd like to stay, please do.
Thank you.
Take care.
And our member of the press, thank you for coming.
Then you get 2 on Zoom. 2 members of press, Riley and Ruth are on the press.
Okay, we are going to start with the first item on the agenda after the public hearing, approval of the May regular meeting minutes, which are in your packet, I think.
I did include them in this packet because
She didn't include them in the packet, well.
Yeah, that's not.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
You can abstain, Bill. You abstain, Bill. You can vote.
There are 2 name spelling errors in there.
Gotta make a motion
Okay,
first,
go
then
ahead.
we can have the discussion.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Motion to discuss the minutes?
Well, don't you make a motion to approve them and then have discussion?
I guess, yes, that's the Robert's
After the
rules.
seconding?
Mhm.
To make a motion.
No, but the.
No, we usually start with the criticisms.
I
and then make a motion.
I move to amend the minutes, is that right?
Thank you.
So that my name is spelled properly?
Oh, I think we fixed the final version. Okay.
Oh, you did? And then so that Michelle Schiff's name is spelled properly at the,
Thank you.
these are the bottom of page 2.
Okay.
And with those amendments, then I move to approve the minutes as
Otherwise
distributed,
written.
as otherwise written.
Second.
James has seconded. Any other comments from the peanut gallery here? All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Okay.
For the record, Phil West is abstaining.
Yes, thank you. Phil West is abstaining. Thank you, Janelle.
You're welcome.
It takes a village. All right, under new applications, are there any? No new applications. All right, I think I make a lot of comments that are meant for education, but I think I have sent around to you in the past graphs that show the tremendous decline in new building in Cornwall, new homes in Cornwall. During the 1980s, when Matthew Cooley was very busy with the Planning and Zoning Commission, they would sometimes have up to 30 applications. It wasn't all for new homes, but there were lots of new homes. Development in Cornwall has taken a distinct downturn over the past, I'd say, decade. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's that. Then after that comes pending applications, which has to do with the text amendments to the Town of Cornwall regulations. Given the complete absence of negative commentary, I think it's something we could be comfortable voting on this evening. So once I find my paperwork, I'll go ahead and make a motion, and then we can have a discussion.
Do you want me to make the motion?
Go right ahead.
Make a motion to approve the amendments proposed in the public hearing, to the public hearing for addition to our regulations.
As supported by our plan of conservation and development,
In the 2 sections, or 3 sections that it discusses it.
correct, and as supported by our fair housing plan, our affordable housing plan of 2021, where several of their suggested strategies included some of the aspects of this amendment.
Okay, that's what I said.
An effective date. And the effective date would be July 1st, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I thought it was interesting and pertinent that the comments were made about the short-term housing versus long-term housing. And I do think that that is something that we should, that's been discussed by the commission in the past. Way back, it seemed like it was discussed that we were thinking that the state of Connecticut might take some kind of stance on that issue, and that has not come to pass, but that was something that we kind of punted a little bit, thinking that might be a broader issue for discussion on the state level. So I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, so anyways, I do think that I think those concerns are relevant, and I think for us now, I still think this is an excellent proposal to move forward with as it is, but I do want to put that on our list as a commission to consider potentially addressing down the road.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I
don't think you should get into big discussion of it before.
No, that's just your comment. Yeah.
Relevant to...
It's relevant to housing diversity and our need for more
and
housing.
And the public comments that we were expressed this evening.
Yeah.
I think it would be
I will be bringing that up
negligent
on
to
your
not
mind,
discuss that.
as a matter of fact.
Any other discussion?
Just one thought, so provided that Airbnb has been a pretty consistent discussion amongst area towns for quite a long time. I prepared a white paper of what other towns have done as an approach to potentially regulate short-term rentals, and I'd be happy to share that with this group and update it with some pertinent updates. I do believe some other towns outside of Litchfield County have recently taken stabs at regulating affordable, Airbnbs rather, short-term rentals.
Appreciate that very much. Janelle will take you up on it.
Okay.
And Michelle.
I agree with James. That was one of the comments that really stuck out for me, was that we not end up in a bind of more housing but less housing. That did stick with me. And I loved the surprise of no negative comments. How lovely to have a full support of all the comments.
Yeah.
So I think it really shows that there is a push of positivity for this in the town. Despite what may chatter in other places, the turnout tonight was all positive, and we certainly know that people who have concerns can show up to express them. They certainly have this year, and so by not doing it, I think it feels good to move forward and vote on this tonight and feel like, you know, it's a positive thing, and so the comments reflect.
Thank you. Anybody else? In that case, all in favor of the motion to approve the amendment as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Anybody not voting?
Well, I'm not voting.
I was going to alternate. Bruce and I are.
Yes. Yes, thanks for keeping me on the straight and narrow. Okay, so that's done. Congratulations, everybody. Yes.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it is exciting. It is a positive step forward. And once I find my, thank you. Karen, do you have staff correspondence and communications, Karen?
I will just speak to the fact that those communications that were received well after the time is stated, which is Thursday of last noon for this hearing, were not made part of the hearing and will not be made part of the record.
Yeah, but I was going to bring this up during the hearing, but forgot. We did have one official piece of correspondence.
Which is part of the record.
There were, no, it's not. There were two unofficial correspondences that you forwarded to me that were in fact simply things that were said in the community chat. Things that are said in the community chat are not formal correspondence to this commission, and I don't see any need to share those with the commission. Okay?
I agree with you, and I thank you for saying that, Anna, because we stand united.
And the community, the people on community chat are constantly informed by me about our more than willingness to address their comments, issues, or questions if it is done in writing to land use.
So, and then how do they submit this chat?
It's like a private chat group.
So
This is not an official.
Does it come in text?
Well, like.
Email.
Yeah.
So it's in text? It's in text?
No,
text,
nothing,
it's written
none of
form,
the
it's not-
above. We do not officially receive it, but people who monitor it to look for the current public opinion.
Or they just copy it and then paste it and send it off to us?
Karen did it.
Okay.
She was just trying to inform me about potential, potential negative comments at our meeting tonight, but it didn't happen.
I wouldn't have done that.
So, correspondence and communications. We had one official letter from Rebecca Ridgway. I want to acknowledge it in favor of the amendment.
And we all got that.
And we all received it.
Yes.
As part of our Next, your staff report.
Actually, today, the issue of Airbnb came up this afternoon, so I was going to remind you that conversation came to the forefront again as to what people are looking for and the conversations that one has to have regarding the impact of Airbnb and the fact that it's under discussion. Okay? And the other big issue is Anna has told you all that there's something coming up next month regarding low-impact development, and based on some of the issues with the Dover Road repair, the Essex Hill Road repair, timber harvests, all sorts of things where people simply do not understand or maybe don't care to understand the impact of poor development on the environment, on our rivers and watercourses, on people's backyards in West Cornwall. And it is becoming more and more that we all have to be very diligent and forthright about saying to people that what we're seeing, what our people thinking is acceptable, is not going to be acceptable in terms of site development anymore. It's just, it's a never-ending argument. Do you have plans?
No, that's something that I'll talk about. We're talking about a lot of smaller issues. Not that that's small, but it's certainly something we want to talk
But
about.
otherwise, that's pretty much what I have.
I was looking for the information on that stormwater meeting. It's July 17th.
It's July 10th,
July
and we're
10th.
about to see the insert that's going into the Chronicle for the July issue.
Right
It's
there.
coming your way.
Coming my way. Thanks.
So on July, just for those of you in the public, on July 10th, engineer Stephen Trinkus, who's a low-impact and sustainable development expert, will be giving us a lecture about how property owners can manage the water flow through their properties to avoid washing out Cornwall roads, their own driveways, and neighbors' property. This will be a lead-in to the Planning and Zoning Commission discussing some regulatory change. As usual, what else usual?
How long is that talk planned for?
It's planned for an hour and a half.
It's not a
7 o'clock.
No, it's not at our meeting, it's on a Wednesday night, and I was going to ask,
Right here.
will it take the
And or hybrid.
Yeah. I was going to ask the commission if they would prefer to not have a meeting on the Tuesday and consider the Wednesday lecture a special meeting for our July meeting.
I won't be here that whole week, so do whatever you want.
Okay, how about the rest of you? Are you ready for a break, or do you
Yes, I
care?
like that
Yeah.
idea very much.
Yeah, okay. And you don't care. I, of course, am raring to go with new stuff, but that's okay. I'm taking my cue from you. How about you? Do you need a break? Sure. Okay. So that's what we'll do.
So it's gonna be our special meeting and everybody should show up. So this is gonna be not here, but I think that would be very.
Well, I do think that everybody should attend. I remember what, years ago, we had a joint meeting where Mike, say his name.
Jastrzemski from Housatonic.
And you went to that.
Came. It
Yeah.
was for the Bend project, and it was a combined. I will be making sure that it was.
I will never forget that talk or the slides he showed about what some of the properties right on the Housatonic were doing and the results thereof. So that's that discussion.
And what time will that meeting be?
It'll start
7
at
o'clock.
7.
7 o'clock?
Here in the library.
It'll be here in the library,
There's an insert going in the Chronicle.
and it will be hybrid.
That's an insert for the Chronicle.
That's an insert for the Chronicle.
I like James,
Keep an eye on the Chronicle.
making a special meeting.
Yeah. Okay. We did say that we were going to start talking about all the little things that were niggling, and maybe rather than actually start talking about them in any detail, could we just create a list tonight? How would that be?
Sure.
Janelle gave us a memo with quite a few ideas of her own. She went through our entire regulation.
Was not the first time.
Pardon me?
We have a whiteboard over there we can use.
Who wants to write on the whiteboard? Bring that forward. Bill,
Oh, secretary.
go ahead, secretary.
As long as one of these
Something.
numbers
So I'm just going to bring up a couple of things that we talked about last time, one of which was the height requirement.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Our limitation on the height of buildings in Cornwall is completely off the charts compared with other towns in the area, so we have talked about revising that.
Is it a requirement or?
It's
No,
a
it's
max.
the max height.
Max.
Well, what's the basis behind it, that people should be able to build 70-foot McMansions?
No.
No, ours is
Ours
tall, ours
way
is
too high.
Ours is
45.
45 feet, and in other towns it's 35 feet, and that seems to be more appropriate. In other words,
Definitely.
I don't have a 45-foot ladder. Okay. Remember, we're just making a.
yeah, okay, so just speak up, any other
Yeah,
ideas?
so doing that, we have to consider, our fence regulation says 7 feet,
Yeah,
and all other towns it's 6 feet.
okay.
For what?
Our fence regulation is max height of
That's-
7 feet.
That's in line with building code.
Our tier comes.
Yeah.
It is,
Yes.
but all other towns are 6 feet.
Yeah, but they're more.
They, yeah, no, I wouldn't follow
All
what other.
fences are 6 feet, that's how they build them.
So if it's greater than 6, it triggers building code.
Right, so then you need to put your fence on a setback.
That's not building code, that would be zoning.
Right.
So
but-
typically zoning gets triggered in line with building, and oftentimes it's incongruous because the building code changed as of like 2017.
So should we change our zoning to 6 foot so they can put it on their property boundary where most fences go, or should we leave it at 7 and have to deal with making sure people set their fence up within the setback?
Well, I don't think my 7-foot privacy fence is necessarily in the setback, speaking for myself.
You're
But
gonna have to take it down.
I'm not exactly sure, I'll have to go home and measure. But I can tell you that the town comes by and mows in front of it, and they never complain.
I was gonna.
Did you get a permit?
Steve is
Did you
good.
get a
Did
permit?
you get a permit?
Permit for a
If it's-
fence.
If it's greater than
6 feet,
6 feet.
you need to have a permit.
Well, not for Cornwall.
Okay, so let's just add fencing to our list.
Fencing, we're gonna discuss fencing,
Since the chair is in violation, I need to do something. God.
I'm gonna give you one way or another.
All right.
These are, you know,
The
anything else?
other thing that we should think about, because it might trigger some outside expertise, is our floodplain regulations in light of the fact that maybe we will have new floodplain maps.
How are we gonna get new floodplain maps?
We're supposed to
FEMA
have.
is in the process, and
Right.
we've heard that
it
for
is my,
10 years.
no, it is my understanding that it is supposed to be
September
That's
1st.
a, you know,
September 1st.
revising our floodplain regulations is a very big deal, not a little deal. We're
That-
talking about little changes that.
Well, they have to be
make.
consistent, they're not that difficult, they have to be consistent with the language. of
So
FEMA.
as soon as FEMA issues those floodplain maps, and as soon as the Housatonic River Commission issues its new regulations for the inner and outer border, we're obligated to
Okay.
consider them and incorporate them into our
Do
regulations.
you know that the Housatonic River Commission is working on that?
I know they're working on it,
Okay, all right.
and I would
Thank you
say
for
it'll be
that.
a few years.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff to do.
But it really doesn't make sense to do anything.
No, it doesn't make sense to do anything on our own, because we have to follow these other people.
We wouldn't get it right the first time.
Right.
We're working on the same thing.
Right. So I'm not gonna put that on the list.
Okay.
Let's,
I like the events that Janelle has proposed. I think we need to deal with defining events in town. I was shocked.
Events?
So
Yeah.
just for the record, this list was not at all, it's not
Oh, I got it.
Janelle motivated.
Oh, no.
It's based on past discussion of areas of confusion and or lack of.
I asked
specificity.
Janelle to please make this memo in preparation for
Yeah,
tonight.
I just, sorry,
No,
not
it's
yours,
okay.
yes,
Just prefer to frame it.
It was
I am not motivated in any
No.
direction.
The
District shall now provide.
Yeah,
Or
the typed out list via, and under that, I know at our last meeting, we said food trucks wasn't a small issue.
I want to revisit it.
Can we put that back on?
Okay, the thing that needs to be clarified about food trucks is that the ordinance, there is a town ordinance that addresses vendors and hawkers, am I right, Rocco? I think you've been discussing this. And there's some food trucks. Who would have known what a food truck was 10 years ago? It's what you put food in the back of your truck and took it home. That was a food truck. But, so there are some issues that are being discussed between the selectman's office and my office about jurisdiction and where it's going in the, a food truck can be permitted by the selectman's office, but if it's part of a site plan, for instance, a farmer's market and whatever, then I'm going to be asking the site plan to be modified. I have the envelope here for West Cornwall,
Yeah.
so to address a food truck there.
Let's
And
not, we don't need to get into the weeds, but I agree that we should readdress food trucks. I've been approached by a number of citizens asking us to do so. I've also been informed that we have up to 3 Cornwall citizens who now make their living because they own a food truck.
Right.
is this a separate thing from events?
Yeah, yes, kind of.
But it's kind of tying into
But it
events.
does tie into it. But I don't think we should be, keeping honest, hardworking people from being able to
Okay,
make a
but we
living
have-
without considering our regulation.
But the town ordinance has got to be changed as well.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and that's going to take time.
Okay.
Okay, Anna, I think we're gonna talk
But we're
about
taking-
signs.
And signs, especially the size of signs,
Height, size, and location.
height, size, and location.
Signs.
An immediate concern is that mixed-use conflict, because right now there remains a conflict if you leave the regs alone.
Thank you for reminding us. When we last met and Janelle was unable to attend, I was confused and led you all astray about the mixed uses
Oh, right.
issue. And I'm now confused again. Janelle is stating again on page 1 under recommendations to remove 10.7 in its entirety to avoid conflicting language.
So
We
mixed
have an
use.
issue with that.
Right.
Got it.
So we redefined mixed use this evening, as a matter of fact, in our new amendment.
And then, so it would be 10.3 already deals with it, 10.7 is
Redundant.
and conflicting.
And only germane to the GB zone and also furthermore confusing.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's definitely a minor thing to eliminate 10.7.
okay.
To discuss the elimination of
Thank you.
10.7.
Thank
Because we can't eliminate that in the public hearing.
Right.
All this stuff.
Correct. So events, yeah. And
And stormwater management, that seems like, since we're having a thing on it, that would be appropriate.
Yeah, well, that's not quite a small thing though.
that's
I know,
very,
right.
that's a very big thing, very big thing.
It's not that big as far as concepts go.
Okay then.
I don't think is plan development, is that a quick one, because we just folded into what we already have?
No, I don't think a plan development
Okay.
district is a.
I didn't think, okay, I thought maybe
Not
I was
based
missing
on our
something.
3
So-
previous discussions.
We've
that
got a
already
list
had
of
on
bigger discussions and visuals.
Wow, Phil, rock.
Driveways, stormwater.
Well, that's part and parcel.
Yeah.
Can we put down Ridgeline and the big things to discuss, which is
Sure.
now more important to discuss because of stormwater?
Yeah, that's
No, it
fine.
ties into LID.
It will tie into low impact development very nicely. Well, but we'll have a discussion.
There we go.
And we're good at discussions.
I'm still on the whole permanent
structure attached to the ground thing. I'd like to review, I'm really the only one here, but I'd like to review the definition of structure.
Fine.
Okay.
I mean, anybody can ask these things happen.
Well,
Trade
no,
house.
I think if something has frost walls and is permanently fixed to the ground, it should be counted as a structure. Yeah.
Like a terrace?
Like a, yes, but, yeah, exactly. Thanks, Bruce.
Isn't it already?
No.
Kind of.
Well,
I would argue that.
It is, but
We
we,
very recently approved.
I'm
Let's
aware.
not talk about it.
we can promise never to do that again.
But I would like I don't want that. I want our regulations.
It already says.
I think that, Christine, I think that's something we also need to discuss with some other intricacies about some things, some of the things that might be an issue. Can we talk about some of that?
Well, yeah, we're just putting it on the discussion.
That's fine. You want it on the discussion? We'll discuss it.
That's all we're discussing.
Anybody else have anything they really want to add to the little stuff? And or the big
We
stuff?
had a whole bunch of stuff that was on our.
There's this
Yes.
old table, there's this old table, there's a few old
Very
tables.
small things on the old tables.
I brought that one.
Anna, what was the big list that we, when everybody had to pick their...
Choices.
Yeah.
That's it.
Where did we move on that?
Housing.
We moved on to housing. We took a vote and decided housing was the
Did we
next
take a
thing
vote
to
for what we're
decide.
doing after?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
Did we vote for what's after, or is this? the
No, we
vote
never
for-
voted for what's
That's
out.
what we're doing, we're figuring out.
Well,
Now, where
like
does
another-
Airbnb thing we talked about? Big box.
Airbnb on big box.
And also,
short-term.
solar farms.
Yes, short-term rental,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
not endorsed, the company.
Yes, thank
Solar
you.
power.
Solar farms.
Oh.
Another
I
big
think
one.
that's another
That's a
big
biggie.
one, especially according to Torrington these days.
We've had a review of our rectangular building areas on our list for quite a while. Does anybody still feel attached to
Solar?
that issue? Right.
Solar
Well,
farm.
I love it as it is.
I feel like we need to address the allowance of like tiny home or trailer concept, especially in a seasonal kind of thing. I feel like for agricultural, especially where they may need an influx of people working, while we're trying to figure out housing, if they had a trailer concept, and of course they would need sanitation and all that would have to be dealt with, but we allow homeowners to put a trailer and live in it for 18 months while they redo their house. They can ask, it's 12 and ask for an extension. But it's 18 months a homeowner can live, but a farmer can't hire labor to work on their farm and house them in a trailer for 9 months. Nobody's gonna live on that farm in the snow. So they're gonna be going in and out. I would like to see that we address some kind of temporary housing that helps our agriculture.
We've always housed agricultural workers in trailers in Cornwall.
I don't think,
But
we have a regulation.
because of the Torrington Area Health District, they all have to have adequate sanitary facilities. And for many farms, that's the big bug of
Can
it.
a porta potty count that
No.
gets serviced on a regular basis?
No, and not only that, but there's huge federal regulations about how that all works out. How you can have people, workers living in there.
And there is workarounds on that. You can camp in a trailer or in a tent or in a non-conforming building for a period of time. Certainly the growing season. So that does exist if a farmer wanted to do something like
Let's
that.
let's add the word transient housing to the list.
Okay.
That's something
That
else
sounds
as
good.
well.
Which list?
Temporary housing.
No, transient.
Which list?
That big one. Temporary housing. Temporary housing for the low down middle transients.
Right, there you go. Oh, boy.
I said that with quotation marks around it. We also talked about, listen, by May 2025, we have to have finished cannabis regulations. You better stick that on that long list, the big list.
The bomb list or the bomb list?
The big list.
Has the state figured out their things yet?
No.
Okay.
But by the time May of 2025 rolls around, the neighboring towns like North Canaan will have had enough experience that we can learn a lot about the pitfalls, which is why we
Yes.
put it in the work program.
There's a small thing, this non-commercial excavation up to 300 yards.
Yes.
That's problematic.
Because it's too little or too much?
Anybody building, shoveling for a septic, it's gonna be greater than 300 cubic yards.
So just put the 300-yard limit on excavation. And I'm confident that our zoning enforcement officer has never gone around measuring piles of dirt.
300 cubic yards is so much, isn't it?
That's a lot.
It's nothing.
No,
Nothing.
no.
Your average septic is at least 400.
400 yards?
Yeah.
So this would in fact be a change that is
45.
never caused, an issue that has never
I
caused a
just got
problem.
20 cubic yards of topsoil and stuff.
Well, we're talking, we're talking excavation
Yeah.
material coming in and going
But 300
off-site.
yards,
and
if you need a
moving it
special
down.
permit for any non-commercial excavation of greater than 300 yards. Any new build is gonna be greater than 300 yards.
This current regulation came into being in response to several crises, historic crises, when there were two applicants, one who successfully quarried rock from along Route 7 for quite a while, and another who wanted to remove most of the rock on River Road to put in a villa. So the upshot of all of that brouhaha during our earlier history resulted in the current limitation. We can revisit it and make it more up to date. I don't think it should be too difficult.
I put it on the short list.
Right. And then big list, changing the lot sizes.
Ooh.
Joanna.
Is that bigger? Okay, so should we have super big ones?
That's like
explosive.
Yeah, you got a hard
Yeah, that's expensive.
It's been a recommendation that we consider it since the 2010 town plan.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not something
Go bigger?
like
No.
dark
R10.
Why not something like
Yeah.
dark sky?
Let's make
Dark
Cornwall
sky.
less.
Oh, thank you.
In Oregon,
All right.
they have R30. So
Dark
small.
sky
That's
regulation,
small.
that would be,
You
that
can't
would
subdivide
be.
a farm
That would be
smaller
big.
than 80 acres.
Oregon.
All right, he's putting it there.
Yes.
Farm-
Right, so let's see if we can do it easy.
I noticed.
Yeah,
That's why they want to stop
fascinating.
it.
Unless you really like your.
And put lot size
You
in
build a house
there.
on it, you
He's
have to
doing a
build
super
farm.
He is, he's a great secretary.
Oh, $50,000 or $5,000.
Depends on how big you want to go. You talk about
2 years of a 5-year term.
general business zone.
Yes, please put that on the website, expansion of the state general business
So
zone.
they're gonna take a
We could
picture of
tackle-
the whiteboard.
I will,
yeah.
We could tackle lot size and business, expanding business zone all at the same time.
So
Easy.
maybe we should all stand in front of it.
Yeah, group team photo. We're gonna do some selfie with the
Bill has it anyways.
So are we gonna be meeting twice a month from now on?
I know, right? Are we
No,
sure we need to take July off?
20-year plan.
I need it.
We do what?
Janelle needs July off.
Janelle needs a little break.
Um,
Y'all need a little break. Come up for air.
Are there any others? I don't have any on my lists.
That covers a lot.
Yeah.
So if you're writing, I cannot, from down at the other end of the table, it just looks like a big blur.
I want to take,
That should take us to 2050.
if you're going to take a picture, are you going to put this in the minutes for us?
Yes.
You better take a and help her.
Madam Chair, I will send this to you via email.
Okay, have you already written it all down, or what?
No, I just
Thank you. Because- Okay, yeah. I have a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Second by Phil West. Huh?
It was a very subtle motion.
Yeah, I don't even.
She whispered sweet nothings to Anna.
Is,
Was it
I can
James?
make it one, two,
No.
three.
Is there any discussion about things we should get? Okay. The meeting is adjourned. I lost control.
Is that it? Anna, is that it?
Yes, we're done.
Okay, we're done.